Hey guys, my name is Ray, and today's the day that I tell you guys that the Hound wants his Valyrian steel.
You're not a good listener.
Valyrian steel. I always wanted some Valyrian steel.
Come with me, Arya.
Back when the Hound said this in season 4, it was just a whatever moment. But now that the big battle for the Dawn is here, you just get the feeling that the Hound will actually get his hand on some Valyrian steel. But some of the Valyrian steel in Westeros is taken and in hands of pretty important characters. So let's go over some of the possible situations that could play out for the Hound to get his hands on that Valyrian steel in season 8. So I'm going to start off with some of these swords and characters. So first off, Jon Snow and Longclaw. Now we know that Longclaw comes from House Mormont, and it was given to Jon Snow by Jeor Mormont when he was at the Night's Watch. Now I think that there's not a chance in hell that he gets Longclaw, just because it's strongly hinted that it will be passed down to Jon's children, and I just don't see a scenario in where he gets to wield Longclaw at all, let alone keep it. Then let's move on to Brienne of Tarth with Oathkeeper. Oathkeeper is one of 2 swords that were reforged from House Stark's original sword, Ice, and that has meaning, especially the fact that Brienne, who swore a vow to protect Catelyn Stark's children, uses a sword that came from Ned's sword, and in a sense it kind of feels that they are still looking over their children, especially with Brienne taking care of them, and to me that's awesome. I just don't see a scenario where the Hound gets his hands on it, especially since he didn't get his hands on it the first time around versus Brienne. Then we have a smaller weapon, the Cat's Paw Dagger. This dagger has been through so many hands that I could definitely see a scenario where the Hound could use it, but keep it? I don't know, because last time we saw it, Arya had it and she used it to kill Littlefinger. Is it possible that once the war is done, she would give the Hound the dagger? This thing that has caused so much pain and turmoil in the 7 Kingdoms? Is it possible and like that on their last trip, Arya and the Hound take that she dies and he takes it as something to remind him of her? Is it possible that once the war is over, she might give it to the Hound, this thing that has caused so much pain and turmoil to the 7 Kingdoms and to her family? Or is it possible that on one last trip with the Hound, Arya dies or something happens to her and he takes it as something to remind himself of her, like a reminder of who she was and what he loved about her? I mean, as sad as that scenario sounds, wouldn't it be awesome too if something like that happened and then the Hound named the Cat's Paw Dagger? And you know, that would be extremely funny and ironic, because remember what he told Arya about people who named their blades.
Oliver stole my sword and put it right through his neck. You still got it?
What one?
My sword. Needle.
Needle. Of course you named your sword.
Lots of people name their swords.
Lots of cunts.
The next blade I had in mind was the one that Jaime Lannister himself, the Kingslayer, has, Widow's Wail. Now, Widow's Wail is really interesting because of the parallel to Oathkeeper, because they both came from ice. And last time we saw it, Jaime Lannister had it on his way up north, and Tywin Lannister said it best.
For 40 years I've tried to teach you. If you haven't learned by now, you never will. Go. If serving as a glorified bodyguard is the sum of your ambition, go serve. I suppose you want the sword back. Keep it. A one-handed man with no family needs all the help he can get.
But there's a more interesting spin on it. Joffrey and Sansa. As I said earlier, it's pretty cool that Brienne is using Oathkeeper to protect the Starks, and the same would go for the Hound. The Hound started the story as Joffrey's goon / protector, but while Sansa's time in King's Landing, the Hound had a connection with Sansa, and would often give her advice, in his own way, of course. I think it would be very interesting if the Hound, who once was used as an instrument to inflict pain by Joffrey, is now someone who protects someone who Joffrey caused so much pain to, especially with the sword that Joffrey never got to use. It's also crazy that it was Joffrey's sword and Ned's sword as well. It could also be seen as kind of Joffrey's last payment to the Hound. But as to how he would get his hands on it, well, that would be a little bit trickier. Jaime could just give him the sword, but I doubt it because that would be way too direct in my opinion. I could see Jaime kind of maybe give it back to House Stark, and maybe then Sansa give it to the Hound. It would be interesting because Brienne could take care of Sansa and protect Sansa, and then the Hound could protect Arya with this Valyrian steel sword. I mean, the Hound could also take care of Sansa because remember, he does have a sort of connection with her, and a lot in the community have speculated that he might serve in Sansa's guard at some point at the end of the story. Then we have Samwell Tarly. Now, I do believe that Samwell Tarly might be the most likely to give up his sword because he's not the swordsman that his father was or his brother, and he might not be in the battlefront to get to use that sword. So I could definitely see a scenario where the Hound Gendry's him and takes the sword away from Samwell to use it in the battle. I could definitely see that happening, no doubt. But I also did a video why I think that Samwell Tarly might stick with his sword, and you could check that out and see my thoughts on that. But to be honest, I'm more leaning towards the fact that maybe the Hound will never get that Valyrian steel that he wants so bad. Remember guys, Valyrian steel is very rare and only a handful of families have it in Westeros. So why would someone give up their sword when people could use dragonglass? Yes, the Hound with Valyrian steel would be pretty badass and I would love to see that, but I just don't see a scenario where someone would just give up their Valyrian steel. But hell, what do I know? Let me know in the comment section down below. What do you guys think? Do you guys think that the Hound will get his hands on one of these swords and he will get that Valyrian steel that he so desperately would like? Let me know. I'm very interested, guys. As always, I also want to give a shout out to my Patreon supporters. Thank you so much for the support. You guys rock. As always, guys, it's a true pleasure. My name is Ray, and peace.
Lots of people name their swords.
Lots of cunts.